I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Aldermen. I have a few changes to the agenda board. If you will add on your consent agenda at 6D3 to accept a donation of $1,500 from Keep Mississippi Beautiful. If you will change at item 11, it currently reads request approval of the Oxford Historic Preservation Design Guidelines. That's actually just an update. So they are just going to give us a review of that. There will not be a request to approve anything. At 13A, if you would add, consider proposal from Precision Engineering for construction materials testing at the city pool site. And if you would add at 14A, change order number 2 from JP Corps for the terrace leveling at the doorways of the Oxford Conference Center. Anything else, Ashley?
No, ma'am, that's all I had.
Okay, could I have a motion then to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, it's good to see a full house tonight. I always love it when people care enough to come to these meetings, and so we appreciate you being here. I don't have a mayor's report tonight other than to say we've been in budget meetings since 8 this morning, and we just wrapped up, and so I'm kind of cross-eyed tonight, so y'all forgive me. We're just still hanging in there. So I will ask the board to authorize the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on July 2nd and the special meeting on July 9th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to consider the consent agenda with the one addition.
Move we consider the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will consider an appeal of the Courthouse Square Historic Preservation Commission's approval of case number 455, a certificate of appropriateness requested by the Land Shark. Ben?
Good evening. I provided a detailed memo to the board outlining, what the events that had transpired up until this point. I'd like to go over a few of the highlights, and I think there are a few people in the audience that may like to make a few comments this evening. So I'll be fairly brief here. So this is an appeal of the Courthouse Square Historic Preservation Commission's approval of case 455. And this item took place at their last meeting on July the 1st just a few weeks ago. And in that instance, the applicant, Mr. Jared Foster, on behalf of the Land Shark, requested a certificate of appropriateness to make several changes to the building and site at 430 South Lamar. It's formerly known as Abner's Chicken. And I think it's important for everybody to understand that initial conversations as part of this proposal, there was a more, I think what the applicant called a more permanent structure. Some of y'all may have seen what was originally proposed, but included, like a covered structure that went over the parking lot and things like that. And through those discussions and understanding the timing that would be required for materials and construction, I think the applicant was concerned about the ability to be able to be open in time for football season this fall. So they came up with an alternative temporary concept, or as they're calling it, temporary concept. But from our standpoint, we look at it as it's a certificate of appropriateness request for both of these items. If they're moving forward with one sooner versus the other one, which would be maybe more permanent, as they call it, it still is a COA application. So when the permanent structure comes, they would have to come and seek a new certificate of appropriateness. Now, what's important about that is the Courthouse Square Preservation Commission has had multiple informal conversations about the initial design of the more permanent structure. And those have been part of complementary discussions. So, but what's before you tonight, what we're going to discuss is the COA request that dealt with, as they referred to it, as the temporary measures. And so with that, the requested COA included plans to expand the northeastern portion of the building, which would allow for the addition of more bathrooms. The addition also, it did include a brick veneer with metal siding accents, which is compatible with the existing structure. The application proposed the removal of existing storefront to incorporate a new roll-up garage door. Metal fencing is proposed around the site along South Lamar and University Avenue. The plans indicated an area designated for a food truck parking. The applicant described that as an area that they would use for their boilers for their seafood. The existing parking lot would be used as an outdoor patio, and it would have an artificial turf over the asphalt. The proposal included several televisions. It had 2 bars, including one with a covering, and it had several televisions mounted to it. There were several tables with umbrellas, picnic tables with cabana-style coverings over the top, and a stage that was located in the southeast corner of the site. The commission had lengthy discussions. They heard an awful lot of comment from the applicant and from the public. Commissioner Andy Phillips did make a motion to approve the COA as requested, but with no cabanas, including the one over the bar, no palm trees, and no stage. The TVs are to face the interior of the site, and the turf and the umbrellas would all be subject to staff approval. So any other modifications to the proposal would be relegated to staff approval. The motion was seconded by Chairman Paval. The motion failed 3-2. The commission then went on to have conversations as part of the complementary review related to the more permanent structure. Once those discussions had ended, Commissioner Ellis made a motion to reconsider, actually inquired whether or not that could be discussed. And deferring to our counsel, who was present at the meeting, he did review Robert's Rules of Order, and it does allow for a majority voting member of the motion to reconsider that motion as long as the meeting has not ended. And that any member of the commission can second that request, but it has to be a person that was a part of the majority vote. Commissioner Ellis then made a motion to reconsider, which was seconded by Commissioner Heineman. The previous motion was then under consideration. Commissioner Phillips made the same motion to approve, which was seconded by Commissioner Ellis. The motion was unanimously approved. And so the appeal is being heard at the request of several residents located in the historic district. And I've included a copy of the appeal letter signed by many of the residents in there. Also included in your report a letter from Tom Holworth on behalf of the applicant.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
I know that the applicant is here and that there are members of the neighborhood that would like to speak as well. I do want to say that there were 4 aldermen present at the Courthouse Square Commission meeting and several others of us that were watching online. So you don't have to retell the entire story, and if you will, limit it to new information as you come up and not just the same thing. But I'll let Jared, if you would like to speak, and then I'm going to hear from the neighbors.
Before I get on this piece of paper, utmost respect for everybody in here. Super anxious, biggest day of my life. Obviously, we all live in the same city. My heart goes out to every person here that's concerned. I respect every single person in this courtroom, and I appreciate you being here. Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on something so important to me and my livelihood. First, and with the utmost respect, I ask Alderman Hyman to recuse himself, since his next-door neighbor and his in-laws are appellants in this matter before the board tonight. This is not an issue of who knows the most members of the Board of Aldermen, or who can get the most people here for a hearing. This is a matter of objective standard and whether the board that voted unanimously for my business somehow got it different than the way every other business in the Courthouse Square District is treated. I have prepared and given to each of you 3 exhibits. Exhibit 1, tax record reflecting this former gas station was built in 1970. Exhibit 2, list of all appellants, their addresses, and the distance they are away from my property. Exhibit 3, exhibit of all similarly situated businesses within the Courthouse Square District which have outdoor seating, dining, alcohol, and cafe lights. My first question is, has the Board of Aldermen ever reversed a lower board that was unanimous in support of a business within the Oxford Courthouse Square District? My business is no different than any other business I've given to you in Exhibit 3 today. To treat my business differently would be subjective, arbitrary, and capricious, and bankrupt me solely because of people who live so far away they cannot see or hear us. It would be patently unfair to treat us differently than the exact same amenities as the Oliver Hotel right across the street or Back 9, just a couple 100 feet on the same side of the road. It should not matter whether my business is in the middle of the district or near an edge of the district. The simple fact is that it is inside of the Courthouse Square District. It should not matter who has appealed this or who they are related to. The only thing that should matter is the law and the same way it is applied to other similar businesses in the Courthouse Square District. Please focus on the law, the objective standards, and what makes Oxford welcoming to all the businesses doing the same thing I'm wanting to do. For this board to do otherwise would be a statement that somehow the residents to the south of the square are somehow more important than the residents to the east, west, and north of the square, which adjoin identical businesses and establishments. I respectfully ask you to do what is right and treat me like all the other existing businesses and objectively allow us to open for business the same way they all do. I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns you might have. For those of you that watched the video, the rest of this stuff isn't on paper. I'm not standing against anybody here. I'm waving a white flag. I started land shark in a crawfish suit in 2015 with a cardboard sign over my head. I had nothing besides my family support. We built the business. Every single person stood behind us. I shook the hand. I was honest. Any customer that had a review that was negative, I refunded them. I've never had a customer that didn't get their money back. We've stood tall for what's right in this city, for businesses, for your hard-earned money, for the respect of Oxford. It took us 8 years for us to get to a point where we could afford to be in a brick and mortar. We've taken Landshark beyond anything I ever could have imagined, honestly. It was a goal, but it wasn't something that I thought I could do alone, and I didn't. I didn't get on Facebook today and ask 500 to 15,000 followers to come in here and stand behind me, because I'm not doing anything that I shouldn't be doing. I know for sure that what we're doing is right. I know that what we're doing is going to be a huge staple for Oxford, and it's going to represent the gateway of Oxford. We're going to make it look like Oliver across the street until we're given a permanent approval to make it almost even more identical to the Oliver is the goal. We're here to turn this into a safer location, to follow by the laws of Oxford, the noise ordinance of Oxford, and to not be any type of nuisance. We have 5-star food, 5-star customer service, everything that Oxford's asked for. If you check into our social media, it's the largest social media platform in the state of Mississippi for a Cajun brand. There's really not any other competition here because the people that have come here and competed haven't taken the same risks we have, and they haven't had the staff and the backing of the community that we have. Oxford has made Landshark what it is. Without the Velvet Ditch, Landshark, I'm not sure where it'll be. My name is on this lease. I'm already 3 months in. I'm doing everything I possibly can to support you guys to make sure this city looks and feels the same as it has forever. I've literally taken down the cabanas, the trees, the stage. Anything anybody asked of me, I said, yes, sir, I'll do it. And I'm saying the same thing to each of you that are objecting in the crowd. Your concerns are respected. That's why you're here. I care. I genuinely care. And if I could address each person's concern, I would. I did that with sound, safety, and success. By removing the fence from the parking lot, we no longer have customers backing into a high-speed four-way. We have a fence blocking every one of our customers to keep them safe inside of that. Our entrance by the Anchorage building is a safe entrance. We're literally identical to the Oliver across the street. What I stand here and present to you today is 9 years of hard work and then 35 years of my parents giving me the opportunity to present who I am and what I can do for the community to the best of my ability. That's all I have for you guys, and I beg you to please be open-minded that my life this isn't just a vote for me today. This is my livelihood. And there's not a chance that any of you walk on my property and you don't get exactly what you paid for or that you feel uncomfortable. And there's not a chance that you're gonna walk by and say, this corner doesn't represent Oxford. And that's all I can guarantee here today, and I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Jared. Who would like to speak from the neighborhood? Dr. Newcomb?
I happen to be older than President Biden, so I brought my own teleprompter.
We're okay with that. You
My
walk
name is-
better too.
My name is Don Newcomb. I live on South Lamar Boulevard. I moved to Oxford in 1972. I came before McDonald's did. So I've been here a while. I was fortunate to be here all these years and to witness Oxford's transformation from a small, mediocre North Mississippi college town to what we have become today. Oxford is now a sophisticated, vibrant, and beautiful town with lots of class, history, and character. We're noted as one of the best university towns in the country, and we have won numerous awards for who and what we are, as well as being noted for our beauty and level of excellence. We were able to do this because our leaders had a passion for beauty and excellence. Every time I go to the square and see the beautiful landscaping, I'm reminded of Mayor Pat Lamar, who had such high standards for everything about Oxford. And you had to meet her standards in order to get your project approved. She was one of the many leaders. There are others that had the same sense of values about excellence and beauty. All you got to do is look at the university. Just being on the campus, you're overwhelmed with the beauty and level of excellence in the landscaping, building and design. It is also an award-winning institution for being one of the most beautiful campuses in the country. It's a sight to behold, thanks to the vision and passion of Robert Kayak. We have numerous leaders that deserve credit, but these two stood out to me. The proposed site for the Velvet Ditch is one of the most prominent locations in Oxford, and I lost a page, the most important page. How could I have done that? No, here it is.
Okay.
It is the eastern entrance to Ole Miss and the southern entrance to the historic Oxford Square. It is actually visible from our historic Lafayette County Courthouse, not to mention being within a stone's throw of some of the most significant historical homes in Oxford. Also, the Velvet Ditch does not meet the 3 requirements for buildings in the historic district as set forth by the planning department in its referral to you. I can't imagine any way that the Velvet Ditch can complement the beauty and character and excellence of this area of Oxford. On top of that, we have visitors from all over the world. During the school year, we have hundreds of thousands of visitors for various activities. I don't know where they come from, but I'm glad when they go back. But do you want their memory of Oxford to be that the first thing they saw at the entrance of our town and university, a bar, or did I hear 2 bars, a food truck, a building that was essentially a huge potty, and television sets all over the place? Don't you think it would be out of place in the historic downtown district? I personally think it would look better on a beach somewhere. I wish the Velvet Ditch all the success in the world, but not in this location. We have a lot of people here. I was wondering if there are any people in the audience that agree with what I've said. Would you please stand? Thank you so much. I have one more thing about Oxford. I can't think of Oxford without thinking of my dear departed friend, Howard Duvall. I'm sure a lot of you remember him. Nobody that I've ever known loved Oxford, particularly the square, as much as Howard did. I think he got up every morning and thanked the good Lord for Oxford and the square and for the privilege of being here. He often talked a lot about Oxford, and because of his love for Oxford, he was afraid that the people would not take Oxford seriously, and that we would just accept it and not think anything could ever happen to it. In fact, he loved Oxford so much, he let it be known before he died that when he did die, he wanted the hearse, after it left First Presbyterian Church, to make 2 circles around the square on the way to the cemetery so he could properly say goodbye to Oxford. And sure enough, the hearse slowly went around the square twice for Howard to say goodbye. So my point is, we shouldn't take what we have here for granted, because one day we may wake up and the magic will be gone. So on behalf of all of us who love Oxford and treasure her beauty, excellent character, and historical integrity, I ask you to deny this request. Thank you.
So what is before the board is a consideration of the Courthouse Square Commission's ruling. It is not a vote for if you're supportive of this business or not supportive of this business. It's a vote about whether or not the Courthouse Square got it right. And are there any aldermen that want to speak or have questions of either Jared or of Ben or?
Ben. So tell us what the process is from here on out. So, I mean, I'm gonna tell you my concerns. My concerns is the outdoor cooking.
Okay.
Big concern of that. I think what the HPC did was take what he had presented and stripped it down to what is allowed. But it still doesn't take away our concerns. So the process of that, tell us from here on out, what is the process?
Yeah,
If
so
it was to move forward, and we have concern, I think everybody on here has concerns, as do the neighbors, but what is that process?
So as it stands right now for what was approved by
Right.
the Courthouse Square Preservation Commission, the next step would be they would have to develop a site plan. I believe that they were or are in the process of developing that. We'll have to review that for the site plan review committee. So all the departments, like we normally do, will evaluate the site plan in terms of use and from an engineering perspective. And it's a little different because Courthouse Square, so you don't have things like the dumpster enclosure, that would typically be required. So it's a little different, but nonetheless, it would still require it for a site plan review. Ordinarily, site plans that are less than 5,000 square feet are administratively approved. But given that there is, community interest in this particular one, we would send this to the Planning Commission for full consideration. Once the Planning Commission would evaluate that site plan and whatever, recommendations are there, they would have to make a decision. And from there, let's say it's approved, then that would require them to move forward with building permits for the construction phase.
So,
And then it comes back to us on site plan approval?
No.
No.
No,
Once it goes
the
through
planning commission. That's
Planning
right.
commission.
So, the one question I have is about the outdoor, the food truck parking. I mean, to me, a food truck parking, permanently parking, does not belong in the HPC area. And wherever you think, I mean, whether you think it's permanent or not, or saying, oh, we'll move it, and hell, I can go move it to Walmart for an afternoon and come right back. I mean, to me, it's gonna be permanent. That's the biggest concern that I have, is that it's outdoor cooking. Anywhere else in this, we wouldn't allow that. A permanent kitchen outside.
So I understand. I think the fire department would have to weigh in on that. I don't know what the requirements are from that perspective and the proximity to the building. That's what we would have to evaluate as part of that review. In the discussions at the Courthouse Square, Jared did suggest that he would remove that. He said daily, and it would only be up here. I believe he said it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think is what he said, and then that would be removed every night. And it's a trailer, as I understand it, with the boiler, so probably similar to what we see on, when we have our crawfish boilers on South Lamar or out on West Oxford Loop.
I mean, that's just
But as I understand it,
that's a big concern, and I think that's a big concern of everybody on this board.
Yeah.
I may be speaking out of turn, but I think it's a big concern to everybody on this board, and it's a big concern to the neighbors. And I mean, what can you do? Jared, what can you do to take that concern away?
No problem. So
could you come up here?
Sure, yeah. Thank you for addressing that, obviously. So, guys, I've got 7 food trucks and dealt with the Denver, Colorado, and built the food truck ordinance with them in Hattiesburg, and obviously, I don't want to be on a food truck. My staff, Dylan, out here, none of us want to be on food trucks. But we can't get a permanent approval to get to where we're not cooking on a food truck this quick. And obviously, for us to be able to supply the food from right there, that is key. Now, saying that, Ben is correct. The food truck, which is our nicest rig, it's a very nice rig. That trailer from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday would be removed daily. It does not stay on the property. It's parked, it's left there, we cook there, and then obviously we are trying to get a permanent approval for our structure of what we plan to do with you guys. This is hopefully temporary, and I want to express why I want it to be temporary, just so everybody here knows. 80% of that property, there's no roof over it. Rainy Saturday, I got a 65-person capacity inside. $13,000 a month in rent, all these excessive bills. Rainy Saturday, reservation dinners, can't even take them. They're all canceled. I can't take reservations when I know the bad weather's coming. But for this football season, I've got to be able to make sure that I'm serving food Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Yes, I do have a kitchen. I do. And yes, there are 7 total outdoor cooking locations on the square. From Harrison's, that has a food truck at Harrison's. They do it, they leave it there. Then you have the other hibachi truck and a few others there. I firmly believe that if you guys moving forward in the city of Oxford wanted to eliminate food trucks from the square, I'd be all for it. But as of now, for me to be able to serve the food that the city ordinance of Oxford requires, which is an open flame, I am not allowed to boil crawfish or seafood indoors, which is our specialty. That's what we do. We're not allowed to do it. You guys don't allow it indoors. It's allowed in some other cities. It's not allowed here at that temperature. It's just the little flame doesn't bring the boiler on time. It's something you
Then
guys
how
don't
does
know.
it ever go inside? I mean, how does it change even when you have a permanent structure?
So right now, what we have is we have an outdoor bowling section over at Landshark on Jackson Avenue. The fire marshal came in and made me put a sprinkler system over it. So technically it's a building with a roof over it. We have 2 bowlers out there, and you guys have a sprinkler system over it. We have it on Jackson Avenue now. We just successfully did it for the last 5 months with 0 phone calls to the fire department and 0 problems to our pedestrians. We put a black fence around it, and we made sure that they were 10 feet away from the bowling section, which your city laws require 10 feet from another property line. So we followed within the guidelines of the ordinance. And I do believe that that food trucks, technically on the beautiful historical part of the square, all over the square, are not the best eyesight. But guess what? I don't want the food truck there either. For 4 months, until you guys decide, Jared, this is what we love, and we think this is a great representation to the gateway of Oxford, and we want to put a roof over this parking lot with you, and the roof that we presented, until you guys approve that, I'm forced to follow the laws of Oxford. And that's the one thing I didn't have anything to do with. I didn't write them, but I do abide by them. And I will, that food truck is, it's
So the
approved.
inside cooking,
Yes, sir.
inside cooking, to move it inside, we'd have to change our ordinance.
You'd have to change your ordinance, yes, sir. It literally eliminates us to allow, the reason no other crawfish suppliers in the city limits of Oxford have boiled crawfish is because you can't. The temperature of boiling crawfish, crab, all that, well, we'll just say crawfish, because that's the forte, right, that we have, our company is based off of. That pot, that temperature, and cooking 500 pounds and doing those caterings, I mean, Funky's, you know, it gets catered up there, all those places. We don't do that at our spot. Luckily, we have Jackson Avenue, and we have 1901 Jackson Avenue. So we have behind Chick-fil-A, and we have 1901. I pay 3 leases to cook one product. I store all my crawfish. No crawfish will be held on the square. All of our seafood, fresh seafood, technically by the way, I own a seafood distribution company. I transport all my seafood to my own restaurant. Instead of just using Cisco or US Foods, I also supply 19 restaurants in the state of Mississippi with their seafood. What we will be doing is our seafood will be brought daily, fresh to the location, not even stored at that location. That way the seafood smell, anything held there. I love that you guys are removing the dumpsters from the view of the square, the flies, the smell. I love that. When they told me, when I think it was Ben brought it up in one of the meetings, I loved that. So give or take, guys, everything you've presented to me, step for step, I've followed, and I'm open to any new ordinance ideas in the future. And if you change the ordinance, I don't consider myself to be grandfathered into something. If you make it easier for me to be able to boil our product, we'll do it. But our job is to build something that you guys put in the law, and we will follow those guidelines. By the way, we won't be boiling any crawfish at all between now and January. We don't boil crawfish. Crawfish doesn't come back for another 6 months. So this is something that you guys, if y'all, for the next 3 months, you put me on hold, if you said, hey, I'm sorry, you know, like, we still don't like this next structure. Tom and Sam blew my mind. What they produced I thought looked amazing, but everybody's opinions differ. So that permanent structure they didn't so much like, and we support the views of what obviously everybody else wants, something that Oxford supports. So when you guys do approve the permanent structure that Tom Howarth, obviously highly recommended in this town, presents to you guys, we are gonna follow suit, and that's gonna be our permanent roof structure. It will not be the turf outdoor sitting there. We will have a roof structure over that property that is actually safer for weather, safer for customers, and also helps keep me in business, because I'm gonna eliminate 80% of my business on a rainy day, Friday and Saturday. That's all I have for you on that.
Thank you.
Jared, well, just one more clarification. So you won't need your boiling trailer this fall?
So right now, that trailer that we have, we've got a kitchen inside that does fried food, okay? And then that trailer outside, our goal for selling our late night food, we were not trying to have the food truck. We just can't not be approved for the food truck. And then you guys tell us, hey, sorry, come December, we still don't like your permanent structure. And then I have nowhere to cook crawfish, and I've got all this money invested in this business, and you guys still haven't approved what we need to do. So whether it's this fall or the spring, I do believe that the way you would vote on it, I could be wrong. I've tried to read up as much as I could on this without bringing in an attorney today. If you do, from what I've listened to Ben say, you guys have to see, it seems that you are forced to vote on the permanent idea because your laws, and I didn't write them, may state that I would, if you approve something today, that I could float through that.
We don't have any guarantee that you'll ever change it.
There you go. And I'm the guy.
I mean, we have your word,
That's
but
right.
we don't have any guarantee. And so we have to look at everything as a permanent structure.
There we go.
Just not knowing when or if, you know, your business plan works out, it doesn't work out,
We
or
do.
what have you. You change your mind, you're making so much money with tables and an umbrella that you're like, no, I'm not spending the money to do a.
Right, 100
So we have to look at it as
100
though what we're approving
Yes,
is
ma'am.
there forever.
That's right. And if you don't look at it that way, then you would obviously, it would be biased, and I don't want that. I want you to obviously treat me the same way you treated every business, Harrison's, Funky's, St. Leo's, Crowd Larry's, Oliver, all those places that also have outdoor seating and have food trucks that do come cook for their events. Except our food truck is enclosed inside of a fence area, which is much safer than what the other food trucks that allow pedestrians to walk directly up to that food truck on the side of the road with literally cars passing them with no fence structure around it. So we presented a safer barrier for food truck opportunities than the others on the square. I do not want to operate off a food truck. I say that out loud in front of everybody here on recording. I wouldn't be spending $13,000 a month in rent if I wanted to stay on a food truck. I can tell you that. So give or take, the food truck opportunity for us comes down to you guys saying, hey, Jared, you know, you're being treated different because of where you're at on the square. Outside of that, I'm not sure the solution on the food truck, besides y'all eliminate them from the whole square. And if you did that, then we could come up with some type of solution together as a team where we could obviously build our bowling house outdoors with our sprinklers and our fire suppression from Fireline, which is the company that's already come in and done all of the safety for the square when it comes to fire suppression. So again, I just, give or take, I don't think my location's really any different than what is everywhere else, except I've crossed every single guideline to follow every safety measure that the city limits of Oxford has offered us and allowed us to represent.
Well, and what the board is challenged with tonight is, did the Courthouse Preservation Commission get it right?
Correct.
In their decision, did they get the things that they were reviewing correct?
Correct.
You know, I've got a lot of concerns about the business.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you know, when it comes up, if it comes up for site plan, I think a lot of those things will be addressed. I think everybody in this room shares a great concern about parking.
Correct.
You know, I mean, people will be parking all over that neighborhood. I don't like it.
Yes.
The smell, I'm very concerned about the smell. Crawfish doesn't smell good for long.
Right.
I'm not saying you're gonna leave it there for a week, but
Correct.
it doesn't have to be left there long on a day like, you
Of
know,
course. Yes, ma'am.
when it's 70 degrees to smell really bad.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm concerned about music in that location.
Of course.
I'm concerned about the neighbors. We have a noise ordinance in place. We have ordinances in place about your trash. We have things in place to address the things that I'm concerned about.
Yes, ma'am.
I think those things would be addressed in a site plan review.
Yes, ma'am.
And our decision today is whether or not the courthouse square got it right.
Correct.
And what the courthouse square was reviewing were all aesthetics.
Yes, ma'am.
And so whether or not they got it right, I still have a lot of concerns.
Of course.
About this business and about parking and about smell and about music and about you dragging stuff to the garbage and juice getting out of that cart
Of
all the way
course.
to the new trash bins.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking through all the different, how do we get it from there to there? You know,
Yes, ma'am.
that can be a whole problem of its own.
Yes, ma'am.
But things like that would be discussed when we were talking about a site plan. So does anybody else have questions?
I would say the question, and this is more to Ben, with the ordinance review committee. I mean, I would like to look at, see how we can cook on the inside.
I'm gonna guess that's fire related.
I think it is, but I think it's
Just preference.
I think
And I think it deals with the use of, maybe the use of propane, like the open flame that they use for a crawfish boiler. Now, I don't know what that means for other methods that are allowed in
I don't-
gas
I can speak.
I don't know about it either. I just know if there's natural gas on the property.
Yeah.
I think every restaurant or majority of the restaurants in town probably cook on gas,
They do.
cooking on the other thing.
They do, just not the crawfish. And to be transparent with you, the amount of heat that you put out when you do like a crawfish bowl inside, it just takes a risk, because then the city's going to have to deal with, obviously you've got your fryers running and your boiler running, and then now you've got a room that you're pushing out more gas on that boiler than you would. And I think that's why the fire departments all over the state don't so much allow bowling inside. They have to have like certain bowling rooms built. I'm all about building a bowling room. In that section where the food truck is, I would love to build a bowling room there. In our permanent site plan, that food truck is, I have no problem with the food truck not being there and y'all forcing us to have that as a bowling room that's circumference by safety. I'm all about that. Incorporate it even for just me and force me to do it. I don't even have an issue with that. I want the safety of the customer, the safety of the square. I would like to come back to Ms. Tannehill, please, for just a second. I completely agree with all your concerns. The smell, the noise, the music, us spilling stuff, man, if you could imagine dealing with Lance over at Chick-fil-A, I love him to death, he's amazing. But I can tell you now, if I don't represent that corner between him, Mr. President, and Buffalo Wild Wings, Smoothie King, all those people have had to deal with everything that we're all addressing right now. We're taking one business model and we're moving it to the corner of the square with a different name, to be honest with you, higher prices, and making sure that, give or take, we're replicating the exact same thing in safety measures. The trash that we take at Landshark, right now my dumpster is 90 yards from me. I literally have to traffic all of our stuff 90 yards. We haven't had a single ticket since we've been open for the past 5 months, and that was the 5 months of our grand opening, and it was something we had not been walked through. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna make this work? And we pushed that trash 90 yards every single time, and we made sure that we got 0 complaints on the cleanliness, the smell, everything was good to go. The one complaint we did get from my friend Fletcher back here was our truck being parked in the way, and that was the only complaint we had. We had to move a truck. It was literally my driving truck. It's the only complaint we've had in 5 months. The sound, we also have a garage door over there, and the decibel of music that we play in there, we've had 0 complaints, 0 issues, and I'm actually creating something on the square that is not gonna be your shoulder-to-shoulder, loud hip-hop bar. That's not it. The way that we're communicating in here right now and allowing each person to speak and relate to each other, our goal is to offer that on the square in Oxford. That's why we have tables. That's why we have an outdoor eating area. Instead of everybody rushing, you know, my father, bad legs, you know, he doesn't come to the square after the game on Saturday. He's able to come to our place, sit down at a table, reserve that table, and be able to sit and not be shoulder to shoulder on the top of college kids every day. So we've offered all those things, from the sound, the smell, and every bit of your concerns. And I would love to be a part of the process of learning how we could actually boil crawfish indoors and not be so hot to do it. And I don't think anybody's got more experience with than me. I supply 40,000 pounds of crawfish a week to the state of Mississippi, 13,000 acres of crawfish farms in South Louisiana. I've had 0 restaurants that have ordered from us that have dropped us. There's nobody with more crawfish experience in the state of Mississippi. So I will make sure that the smell, besides coming from the bowler January to June, is not an issue, and I am completely on board to be a part of whatever process it is to make this more efficient.
Okay, we have somebody else that wants to speak. You can come up.
My name is Saber Olson Lombach, and I live at 1205 South 11th Street, which is at the corner of Grant and South 11th. And we hear the marching band for those 8 games that are home games. We hear that, and we can't go to sleep at night. If we have that fella, wherever he went, that fella at that close, on just across the street on University at Abner's, we will be, every night he will be operational. It's the difference between 8 nights and every night.
Thank you. If you'd like to speak, if you'll come up here to the podium, please.
I'm not a public speaker.
That's okay. We're an easy group.
But I did want to say, my name is Wendy Beard, and my home is 1005 University, which is on the corner of South 11th and University. And what he's planning on doing is not going to be 75 yards from my front door. So I'm going to get all the smells, all the trash, all the noise, all the drunken kids that are going to be wandering down the streets. You know, so that's my objection to all of this, is that this is a great idea, take it somewhere else. Don't put it right next to residences, because we're not going to appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, in the back. the things. Never miss an opportunity.
Well, there's a reason.
I love it. I wish you brought us a cup.
Well,
Next time, bring the coffee. Guatemala.
yes, ma'am. Okay, my name is Leslie Walkington, and it's nice to see you, Jared, and hear about your plan, and I'm excited for you as one business owner to another. My company is Velvet Ditch Coffee Roasters, Velvet Ditch Coffee Roasters here in Oxford, Mississippi. And I'm a resident of South Lamar, but I'm also a business owner. And the big problem I've had is confusion, because all of my neighbors are like, Leslie, what is this restaurant that you're gonna put on the corner of University and South Lamar? And I'm like, that's not me. Don't be confused. So I have been explaining my company for the last week, saying, no, I'm not Jared Foster, different company. So have you heard of Velvet Ditch Coffee Roasters, Jared? Okay, great. Well, let me quote you. You said, please focus on the law, correct? Please focus on the law. You also said, do what is right, correct? Do what is right. So just to let you know, there has been confusion. I am a food and beverage restaurant myself. Just got approval. I'm rehabbing a 1940 house on North Lamar, coffee shop, cafe, food and beverage. So there's already confusion. I do have a trademark on Velvet Ditch Coffee, and Velvet Ditch Coffee Roasters. So that would be one thing that I would encourage you to change your name, because you have a wonderful name, Landshark, right? So you could use that. So that's one thing I want to say, because there has been confusion. So when it comes to the logo, in our beautiful historic town, just think about the logo and what it's going to look like and the aesthetics. I know that that's important because we're talking about the building, and the logo will be on the building. Okay? The other issue I keep hearing repeatedly in the documentation and at this meeting is you want to open by the fall, correct? You want to open by the fall. Okay, so we're in July. I also would have liked to have opened back in May, but I had to go through the proper channels. I had to submit my site plan, and I had to follow the rules, and I met with many people in this room 4 times before I ever submitted my site plan. So I know it's a process, but we all have to do it. Right. So you're probably not going to open by the fall. That's tough. So I just wanted to make you aware and let everybody know it's not the same business, because there has been confusion, and I have been struggling with that ever since this came out. So we can talk more about that, but that's what I wanted to bring to the table, because I am also in the food and beverage class and opening up my restaurant as soon as I can get my cute little 1940 house rehabbed and be providing breakfast and lunch and beverages. All right, do y'all have any questions for me?
No,
One
because we're
business owner?
voting on the courthouse squares
I know.
ruling.
I know.
So I love you and your coffee.
Right.
Her coffee's great. If you haven't had it, you should try it, but that has nothing to do with what we're voting on.
Well, just the look of his logo, that has to do with, that's
I got
all.
it.
That's
But
my link.
That's not what we're
All
considering.
right, but thank y'all. Clarification.
All right.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm Abner White, I'm the landlord. I appreciate Dr. Newcomb's comments, and I just want right now that building is a 1960 or 70 gas station. I'm just kind of wondering, because I saw the plan that Tom did, and where I know that people might want to see a little bit something different. I heard it was too industrial. But I just want to make sure, what's needed there. Because I frankly, and I understand the desire to have stately, beautiful buildings, but I actually, when Jared told me he was putting a food truck in there, I loved the idea. I thought it was different, creative, just kind of cool. And I've seen that in different markets, and I don't know if that corner also is the square to the extent that, are we supposed to rehab that building and make it a marble bank? And I think we need some kind of guidance there, but I love the concept of that corner becoming a walking destination. I know the planner here in 2003, when Tom and I did a facelift down there, he wanted me to take in the parking lot. Forget the guy's name, but he said, I want you to either take in half the parking lot or all of it. And I thought he was crazy. I said, no way, because I mean, I had to have the parking. But frankly, looking backwards, that parking was always such a damn hassle 24/7. People getting blocked in, not being able to get in and out, lots of complaints. And I don't know how safe it was, but we built it there in the 80s, or the 90s, excuse me, early 90s, and it just stayed that way. But, you know, I love the idea, actually, of having a food truck, having some outdoor space, having a place where people can stand and gather and all that. I realized today we're just talking about aesthetics. And I just wanted to bring that up. Oxford is also very creative. It's beautiful and it's stately, but it's also very creative and funky. And I think that might be a little bit of what Jared's trying to do there. Not so cookie cutter, not so just like everybody else. And you know, this is an Oxford man. He's an entrepreneur that's got a dream, and I think it's pretty cool. So if you want to give him some direction and tighten him up a little bit as far as what he can and can't do, I think that's on y'all. But I just think he's incredibly energetic and motivated, and also if the smells come into play, if the noise come into play, I'm assuming the city has a way to write him a ticket, bring him to court, close him down, whatever it might be. But aesthetically, I just wanted to speak to that. I mean, there's more than one way to view a food truck, I guess.
You're not wrong. I will say that this isn't the place where we tell him what to build. I mean, this just isn't the proper forum for that. Mm-hmm. You know, you would bring a site plan forward, and then all of those individual things would be addressed. The Courthouse Preservation Commission that heard the first iteration, they are charged with aesthetics and making sure that it fits along with things like our outdoor dining areas. And so the different direction that they gave was really, okay, no cabanas, you can have the umbrellas and tables like the other outdoor dining. No stage, no palm trees, some things like that, the aesthetics. But there would be a lot more involved when it got to site plan that would include both music and trash and all of those things. So I think probably you've got 800 to 500 different ideas about what it should look like in this room right now. Yeah. But this just isn't where that happens.
For whatever it's worth, I had, at the same time that Jared made his offer, I had two other offers, and they were two other restaurants. One was from North Carolina and one was from Louisiana. But they wanted to utilize the outdoor space the same way. Mm-hmm. So everybody sees that kind of the same reality as that we had at Adams, which is, I don't want to, is this mess of parking really worth it? Or would we be better off making this a cool space? But they wanted the same thing. I went with Jared because he's local. And I realized that, hey, those two other groups wanted to come in here and hire it out and then split. And I've got a long history in the restaurant business, and I knew if somebody did that, it would just be a matter of time before they went down.
Yeah.
So I think Jared's the right guy to do it. And again, you guys can give him some direction and tighten him up a little bit if need be. Then I know he's willing to work with you.
Thanks, Abner.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kees Gispen. I live on 1112 South 11th Street. It's just a point of clarification that I would like to get an answer to, if possible. The concerns that I have to do with the possibility of music there. I understand that from the context today that a stage was possibly not going to be allowed.
Correct.
But you can perform music without a stage.
Correct.
And so can you give us some guidance? Many people in the room, I think, are also concerned about the future of or the possibility of music there, because music is going to be loud, and it's a residential neighborhood on which this abuts. So I'd like to hear what the plans for that are and how that will be addressed. Thank you.
Well, yes, sir, thank you. Ben can probably address this better than I. When we had our first venue built that has outdoor music, we adopted a sound ordinance that we crafted with the guidance of an expert from the Physical Acoustics Research Center on campus, who helped us by, we tested it standing in different places around town and with the music playing, and could you hear it? Was it audible here and there, and that kind of thing. The thing that we've learned about sound is it travels in weird ways, and so, there are some unintended issues that still crop up, but we have a sound ordinance that would have to be followed. It gives you a strict decibel level that you can hear anywhere outside of the property. I'd be making it up if I tried to tell you the numbers, but it is one that was developed with a lot of guidance from physical acoustics specialists. Is that fair?
I think that's fine. Specific to this application, all conversations prior to us receiving the application was that there would be individual speakers at each of the tables. It was we never had conversations about it being more of a venue or anything like that, but I think what he suggested,
it was a stage.
Yeah.
So
But then there was a stage, so I don't know exactly what the intent is.
Right.
It seems to have evolved.
But
Yeah.
So,
let me ask you, excuse me, is that what we're deciding tonight, though?
no.
Right. So I just, because residents, and if you're watching on YouTube, I have the same concerns as y'all. I mean, I promise, I'm from here, I hope you know me, I have those same concerns, but that's not really what we're voting on tonight, though, right? We're voting on...
With the exception of the stage, but we're not dealing with the sound.
But about the sound or the smell or
That's
anything,
right.
strictly what the Preservation Committee
Did
Commission decided.
they get it right?
Did they do it right?
They
And
do.
basically what they decided, everything gets kicked to you, and the planning commission decides that. Is that
correct.
basically it?
That's right.
So,
With the exception, they removed the cabanas and.
right.
That's right.
Right.
So,
Well, you will take care of trash. Well, the planning commission will take care of trash issue, parking issue, noise issue, food truck issue, that all will be covered.
We'll evaluate all of those
You'll
elements as part of the site plan review.
right. So I would say,
And just a few, because we got to talk about this because, in the historic preservation or the Courthouse Square district, there's not parking required on site. There are parking areas available, so people can park in the parking areas. So it's not that we would see a site plan that's going to have parking on site. We also have worked to create, as you all know, centralized trash and grease trap locations that the businesses of the square all utilize, and that's what we're doing with City Grocery. So there will be trash enclosures there. So I don't anticipate seeing a site plan that's going to have trash enclosures on site. There would have to be a mechanism and a methods and techniques that they're going to have to provide to us of what they intend to do, how they intend to do it, because you can't just leave, shrimp holes outside on the back and sitting in the heat for a while, and then you take it out at the end of the night because, adjacent property owners are going to be affected by that.
I think as I look out at this crowd, I see a lot of faces. I know Abner, I know the Hobbs, I know the Lawheads, I know Dr. Newcomb. So it is one of those things where, this is where this job's not fun, but we've got to do it, and we've got to do it right. And I think the HPC got it right in a sense that they came with a plan. They took away what was the big concerns, and the HPC made a decision on what is allowed in our ordinances and in our laws. And this is not an end all. So your concerns they don't die here. So your concerns can still be heard through the planning commission in the planning process. And I implore you and invite you to come and be a part of that process. That's what makes Oxford great. So continue this, but I do think it's my opinion that the HPC did get it right is in with what our ordinance say. So that's my thoughts.
Ben, what we're talking about here is new construction, right? And under the HPC guidelines, it would be, the objectives are to preserve the integrity of the district.
That's right.
That new construction should strengthen and maintain the integrity of the surrounding buildings, and that it should be compatible with existing buildings, correct?
Correct.
Existing buildings, meaning those buildings in the surrounding areas that are like that. How was that discussed? And I was there from the standpoint of looking at it and watching the meeting, at least on the first go-round. Was that a part of the second vote? Do you recall?
There was not much discussion around the second. But I mean, when you're looking at the compatibility, I think they're evaluating the expansion of the bathrooms, the existing building, and is that compatible with the type of architecture that's there and materials? You know, from a scaling standpoint, is it scaled appropriately for the adjacent buildings?
Okay.
You know, the other
scaling
elements,
and mass and rhythms.
That's right. The other elements are they're certainly unique. You know, we don't have many patios that are used in this way. We do have some patios, Proud Larry's. You know, you think about Proud Larry's and it has a few tables with some umbrellas, but it's different than more of, I think.
Everything's on a smaller scale.
It is. That's right.
Okay.
So do y'all have any more questions for Ben?
Are the bathrooms a done deal? Like, is that something that the commission, they didn't address the 14 bathrooms, did they?
That was included. They approved the.
They approved the
They did.
bathroom.
That's right.
Yeah.
So are those bathrooms part, Tom, of the structure that you'll be proposing next, or are those temporary? I'm assuming if you go to the expense of building those bathrooms, you don't intend to change that?
The additional bathrooms are needed because of the additional people load.
Sure.
And so they are designed to remain.
Mm-hmm.
That said, we don't have we're nowhere near an approved design of a building structure.
Absolutely.
So it's altogether possible that when we get to building a permanent building, that we're also going to look at, well, should we reclad some of this building?
Right.
Because we're going to be doing something different from what's already there at Abner's. I mean, I don't think, I'm clear that the commission had no appetite for what I presented before. And
well said.
I don't think that means that they want me to come back with Abner's 2.0. So I think we're going to be looking at something different.
Right.
But we're not.
But that will be
guaranteed of
with the
that.
site plan and with the planning.
But we're not guaranteed of that whenever. I mean, we keep saying that and keep saying that, yes.
The when, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 days from now, I don't know. But none of us are guaranteed of any of that.
Well, I can assure you that Jared wants it as soon as possible. That's being in an open sky is not part of his business plan.
But that's all we can look at right now.
I don't have a revised design from a couple of weeks. I'm licking my wounds still.
Excuse me, I have a question. And I know that we have heard, my name's Jenny Carruthers. We have heard about temporary design, and then we've heard about permanent, but we know temporary may end up being 8 to 10 years, you know.
That's right.
Just realistically. I know that Jared does not plan on that, but am I correct in the fact that what we're looking at eventually and temporarily is 99 people max inside, 250 people outside? Do we have any other venues outside where the majority of everything is outside seating, because that's gonna also lend to. I think that's planning. The noise
Yeah,
and all the rest
and
of it.
that would be dealt with at site plan, for sure. I don't know of another, I'm just quickly going through in my head, others that have outdoor seating and,
It's all,
Voltas is, what I mean, I can think of several, but none that I could say to you, yes, there are ones that have that many. But those are things that would be talked about with the site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, board, what is your desire?
So to overturn it, you would need a.
We would need a motion to overturn the Courthouse Square Preservation Commission's approval.
Going along with the design guidelines that we are presented, preserving the integrity of the district, ensuring the new construction and addition strengthen and maintain the historic integrity of the individual buildings and the area at large, and looking at what we've got in front of us, I will overturn the Historic Preservation Commission. Make a motion to.
I will second the motion.
All right, motion and second. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of overturning the Courthouse Preservation Square, vote aye.
Aye.
All those that are opposed to overturning the Courthouse Square Preservation Commission's approval, vote nay.
Nay.
Okay. So the Courthouse Square Preservation's approval is not overturned on a 4-3 vote, and it will now go back to planning for site plan approval and all of the things that will be addressed, and you can continue to follow, and your input continues to be welcome. Thank you. Right, request permission to install light pole banners on University Avenue and West Jackson Avenue from November 4th until January the 6th. Here's Nadia to represent Kenny.
Nadia, motion made to approve.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Sorry, I didn't see how far you were coming.
Authorize Oxford Utilities to develop and publish a customer privacy policy. Rob, just hold on, Rob. We'll let y'all, if y'all would make quiet down, please, so we can continue our meeting.
Good evening. The purpose of this item, sorry.
Hey, if y'all would just quiet down so we can continue our meeting, please.
The purpose of this item is to develop a privacy policy that outlines how we will protect customer data and essentially publish that on our website. We are, as you know, working to provide customer texting through a company called TextPower. In order to work through that process, they require us to have a privacy policy published for our customers to understand how that sensitive information, phone numbers, last four social, things like that will be protected. And so we want to, working with Pope, to develop that policy based on other municipals in the state and how they present their policy online. Starkville, Columbus, we like some things in one and like some things in the other. We're going to develop that policy pending your approval and then publish it on our website.
So what you need is our approval to go forth and develop it?
Yes, ma'am.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Request approval of a plat amendment for case 3106 Oxford Station Development for Southwood for property located at 2117 Old Taylor Road, being further identified as PPIN 21083. Kate.
Okay, this property is located between Old Taylor Road and Bickerstaff Lane, just north of the Belk Boulevard intersection. And the applicant's requesting to amend the subdivision to combine lots 7B and 7C into a single lot for the purpose of building a house on that lot. This case was unanimously recommended for approval at the July 2024 Planning Commission meeting. And as you guys know, Mississippi subdivision law requires that applicants proposing a change in a platted subdivision notify all the persons to be adversely affected, thereby or directly interested herein. And the applicant did identify those persons and provide a letter from the adjacent property owner. So staff is recommending approval of the plat.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Request approval of the Oxford Historic Preservation Design Guidelines, or actually, we changed that wording and I didn't write it down,
Yes,
to
we
get an
are not-
update on.
We are not requesting approval today, but we did want to bring you guys an update since the updated design guidelines that we've been working on with Archives and History and Integrity Consulting went before the joint meeting of both preservation commissions last night. And they're recommending approval to you guys, which we'll be bringing at a later date. We wanted to go ahead and get the draft in front of you since it's a pretty big update and it's not updated often. This is the first update since they were adopted.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to go ahead and get that out there. We're really happy with how it's looking. And we're currently waiting on feedback from Archives and History in anticipation of closing out that project on August 1st. So I'm happy to take questions, or if you guys take a look at it and you have any concerns you want to talk to us about, we're happy to hear them. We did get feedback from the community. We had a meeting with local design professionals related to the update, and we've been meeting with both commissions throughout the process. So that's the update.
All right, does anybody have any input for them right now? This is not your only opportunity to do so, but.
Kate, just so and this was something, and I'm sorry I haven't read them and I apologize. Did the new design guidelines, do they basically tell people that just because you're not a contributing structure doesn't mean you don't have to comply?
They do say that a little more clearly than the current guidelines. We really wanted to make them, the current ones are just a lot of unbroken text. And so these were meant to be a lot more visual. We put in a lot more information. I mean, obviously technologies have changed since 2003. There's a lot of materials available now that are acceptable for use in the district that weren't acceptable based on the guidelines. We've updated that, and we also have really clarified the demolition section, since that's what we have a big problem with a lot. And we'll be, the did you knows? Yeah, and we'll be updating the ordinance associated with that demolition section, which you guys will see. And there's a lot of cool breakouts. It's formatted a lot better. There's a lot of little did you know questions throughout. So we're hoping that people will actually read them now.
Because you get a lot of, well, it's not a contributing, so I should be able to tear it down.
And we have a whole definition section that clearly lays that out, which it's not in the current guidelines.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kate. Request permission to approve and authorize the mayor to sign an updated agreement with Civic Plus MuniCode. Ashley?
Yes, this is, Civic Plus MuniCode is who handles our code of ordinances and maintains it online. This update has the potential to save us some money over the things that we send to MuniCode that are provided in our code.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve the bids received and authorize a contract for the M-Trade Park Pavilion project. Mark?
Yes, this is for the 50 by 110-foot pavilion in M-Trade Park, just on the north side of the IPF. There's a rendering for you. We got permission to advertise just a couple weeks ago. We've turned around pretty quickly because we would like to have it completed by November 1st, which is when Holly Jolly is supposed to start setting up for the ice skating rink. So talking to Brad and Clay, and Brad's here, if we have any questions, they have ideas of how to use this pavilion other than just for ice skating. It'll be used year round. We'll have utilities there to accommodate different events. We did provide two alternatives. Alternate one is for labor and material for a 12-foot diameter industrial fans for 4 fans, and the other alternate is for a brick knee wall that matches our pavilion that we have across from Walgreens at the old Armory. So Southern General Contractors, the low bidder, $358,000. includes both alternates. So I'm just asking for a recommendation to accept base bid or all the alternates or one or both of each. Just looking for a recommendation for the bid.
Remind me where the money is coming from.
I knew you were going to ask that. I believe some of it is tourism.
Yeah, I think it all was.
Yeah, I think it all was.
Wasn't it?
You're right.
Brad? I mean, now, we've talked about budget numbers all day long today. I'm cross-eyed.
Yeah, my
Wasn't it?
brain's kind of mush.
2%.
Yeah, it's coming out of 2% from beginning cash. I mean, or from money that was already there unsigned.
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, wait, or is that with both alternates?
Yeah,
or-
what,
Yes.
yeah, both all,
Okay,
total
but-
price, $358.
Southern General with both alternates.
That's right.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, then we had 13A, which is consider proposal for precision engineering for construction materials testing at the city pool site.
Yeah, so we had a proposal here from Precision, $16,500, pretty standard.
See in our budget?
It's in the design budget, yes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve change order number 1 from JP Corp for the terrace steps at the Oxford Conference Center, Mark.
So we're underway on the conference center terrace steps. I've got another image for you here in a second. We
Look there.
removed
Look
the
right.
steps. This is what we found. What we found is that the base underneath was unsuitable, and so the contractors are actually having to re-pour those steps. There was no way to know this until we took the brick off the steps, which we didn't do until we accepted the alternate. So it's an unforeseen condition. The cost is, for the change order, is $11,060 to rebuild these, and
It's a result of shoddy work the first
Are
go
we
round.
rebuilding the base?
So there's a double layer of bricks, so we gotta build it up.
we have to build it up.
The concrete
We're gonna dowel in and re-pour all those steps to
Okay.
get the right thickness.
All right, so moved.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Second.
All in favor?
I was like, if you're gonna get the
Any
picture that looks
opposed?
the worst,
That's right, well.
I was hoping that would.
I'm not sure that even tells the whole story. Change order number 2 from JP Corp for terrace leveling at the doorways.
We were gonna table that. because
Okay.
We have another option.
All right, let's table that.
As is.
Consider a request to enter, that's the one you just voted on. Right before.
Oh, I thought we,
Do you not know what you voted?
Consider a request to enter into a memorandum of understanding for the North Lamar Sewer Improvement Project. Mr. Raleigh?
Yes, this is a project where we were awarded funds from MCWI through ARPA. The deadline to be under construction contract is August the 30th of this year, which will not happen at this point. MDEQ has given a mechanism whereby we can extend that deadline, where the Board of Aldermen and the mayor enter into a memorandum of understanding where the board gives the mayor authority to conduct business related to that project, whether it's to sign invoices, whether it's to approve change orders, et cetera, et cetera. It would be paperwork only, because I would not ask her to do that without first seeking your guys' approval. But it's something that's needed to extend the deadline of this project, so we will lose that money, which is about $1 million.
Just to make this point, and I think John said it right, that if it comes up and it's something the mayor can't normally do, agree to a contract without her approval, she may have to call an emergency phone meeting to get that approval, but we've got to tell them that the mayor can get these things done.
Motion made.
Sorry.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to advertise for bids for the North Lamar Sewer Improvement Project.
Self-explanatory.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to accept bids received, award contract, and sign utility agreements for the Highway 7 Water Main Relocation Project, Phase 2B.
So the project as a whole was split into two. Phase 2B is the part that has to be done in order for MDOT to 4-lane Highway 7. The water lines, sewer lines are in the way, so we have to move them. That's this project. Low bid is 5986963.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to accept bids received and award a contract for the Highway 7 Water Main Relocation Project, Phase 2C.
This is the portion of the project which is just betterment. We're going to be out there anyway. We would like to upsize the water line further down south towards Highway 328. The low bid on this one is $1.8 million. Both of these projects are ARPA projects. So move.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? That was a very,
Oh, sure.
so moved. Consider a request from Seeker Properties LLC to close the sidewalk in front of Boo Ray for a period of 15 days beginning July 17th for exterior painting.
Yes, they just want to park a lift right in front of Boo Ray, not taking up any parking spaces, not blocking any sidewalk or crosswalks. They just want to be right there so they can lift their guys up so they can paint in front of the building.
So moved.
So what the mayor just read says to close the sidewalk, but what John is saying is they are not closing the
They're not going to obstruct the
There
sidewalk.
won't be any periods of time that they close the sidewalk. Okay.
So there are lifts in the parking spots, right?
No, it's in that hashed area that's right there between the last parking bay and the crosswalk, so they'll be actually in between.
Okay.
I move to approve with the understanding the sidewalk will not be closed as described.
And that parking space will remain active?
The parking space will remain active, yes, sir.
Is there a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to advertise for engineering proposals for the Piggies Road Extension Project.
This is the big project to connect the Commons back over to University Avenue.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a request for a quitclaim deed to a cemetery plot. John?
So cemetery plot was sold many years ago. They never got the deed recorded. Now they want to sell their space to someone else. And so basically what this quitclaim deed does is the city saying we relinquish any interest we might have in that space so they can.
Do we know that we hadn't already sold it to somebody else?
I've asked that question. We are only doing this because we know we didn't sell it to someone else and that we really sold it and it's really not ours anymore. We're just relinquishing any interest we have. Somebody has an interest.
Okay.
Dead issue.
Dead issue. Yeah, please. All right, could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Could I have a motion to, do we have anything for executive session? I don't have anything for executive session. Could I have a motion to recess to meet 9 a.m. on Thursday, July 18th?
No.
No motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. It's been nice.